If you'd like to learn how to make this delicious Jamaican chicken soup recipe, please keep watching. Hey everyone, so today we're going to be making Jamaican chicken soup. So I'm going to be using this kalbocha squash, which I prefer, but you can use regular pumpkin with the orange skin, which is shown here, chocha, which you guys call coyote, carrots, corn, and I'm also going to be using batata. This is not batata, but I prefer that. It's shown here. Irish potatoes, and that's it. And I'm just gonna wash everything before I start cutting it up. So now that everything is washed, we're just gonna cut up our vegetables, and we're just gonna add it to a bowl of water after we cut it up. So if you know with vegetables, if you cut it up and you leave it out for a while, it's going to oxidize, it's going to get brown, and we don't want that. We want some vibrant, nice looking vegetables. So we need the water, and it definitely is necessary. And right now I'm cutting up the sweet potato. This is just the regular American sweet potato. I don't think you should use that. If you have if there's batata in your um, supermarket, or the Jamaican sweet potato, please use that instead. I did show you a picture earlier, so just look at that as a reference. So for everything, we're just going to cut them up in bite-sized pieces. For the sweet potatoes, we're cutting up them in not too big, not too small. You just want it to be just right, because the thing is that sweet potatoes, they take quicker time to cook. So, and that's also going to be added last in the soup, but I'll tell you that later on. And now we're cutting up the chocha, or coyote, as you guys might call it. And this is the seed of it. It's definitely not good. Please take it out. Do not use it in the soup. If you are using chocha, you're just gonna take the skin off. And for me, I like to cut it up in slender slices. That's just how I prefer it, but you can definitely cut it up in cubes. And with the Jamaican soup, you can add anything you want to it. That's the beauty of making this soup. You can add dasheen, chocha, cassava, white yam, yellow yam, anything you want. So whatever you prefer, you just add it to it. There is no right or wrong to the soup. And if you don't like something, just don't add it at all. And that's it. So for the carrots, you're gonna wanna take off the skin. I already took off the skin off one, but I'm gonna show you how I did to take it off. So I don't have a vegetable peeler, but if you do have one, that's definitely the best way to go. So for me, I'm just using a knife. You're gonna wanna put the carrots to the side and just take the knife and just peel it off, and you're gonna do it for everything, all over the carrot. So just make sure all that skin is off, because you definitely don't want that in your food. And for the carrots, I'm just going to be cutting up it in small pieces. Personally, I don't like big chunks of carrots in my soup, but if you prefer that, go ahead and do it yourself. But I'm definitely not going to do it in mine. So you're also going to want to just set that aside, and after you cut it up, and just put it in water as well. So now that everything is finished cutting up, then we're just gonna cut up the corn and the pumpkin. And for the corn, I personally like the small pieces of corn, but you can do medium pieces or large pieces if you'd like. So what you're gonna do is put the knife on whatever section you'd like, and take your hand and hit on the knife to break the corn. I personally find that that's the easiest way for me to cut the corn, but if you want it in a bigger piece, you can break it in half. So next, I'm just going to cut up the kalbocha pumpkin. It's definitely a harder pumpkin to cut up, so you're going to want to use a sharp knife, and definitely watch your hands. I'm cutting it in half first, And after I cut this pumpkin in half, then you're gonna see that there's seeds in both sides. So for me, I'm gonna use one side of the pumpkin and basically an eighth of the other pumpkin uh, to in my soup. So for me, you want to just next take out all the seeds. You don't want to eat the seeds. It's definitely not good. So they definitely discard that. And after you discard that, you're going to want to peel the skin. So the best way to peel the skin that I find is basically cutting the pumpkin in even smaller pieces. So you're going to want to cut it in smaller pieces so it's easier to manage. And then after you cut it in smaller pieces, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold the small piece in my hand and take a smaller knife to peel the skin. And I find that it's easier for me to peel it that way. But if you're not comfortable with using a knife, the next thing that you're going to do is take a piece of the pumpkin. I'm going to show you here. Put it on the cutting board and take the bigger knife, and you're going to want to go around the sides of the pumpkin to cut the skin off, and just make sure your fingers are not in the way, because again, you don't want to cut your fingers off. And then after that, we're going to cut the pumpkin up into even smaller pieces, and this is just going to make it much easier to boil later on, because we're also going to boil it and then mash it, and I'm going to show you later on in the video. So here are the pumpkin that we cut up. You see that it's in bite-sized pieces, and those are washed already, and I just added more water. So you're going to use whatever pot you're going to use to make the soup. Add this in, turn the fire on to medium, and cover it and let it boil. Then after it boils, we're going to mash it, and I'll just show you later on in the video how to do that. And you don't want to add too much water in this step either. So now that the pumpkin is on the stove to boil, we're going to be extremely productive and clean our chicken. What you see in the sink is remnants from when I washed the vegetables after cutting it up. So to clean our chicken, I'm just using chicken wings as well. You can use whatever chicken you'd like or whatever meat you'd like, but you're always going to want to clean your chicken in this step. So right now I'm using lemon juice to clean the chicken. So you're just going to add water in your bowl where the chicken is in, add a bunch of lemon juice. You're going to mix that up. And then after you mix it up, I like to add more water and then rub my finger around, make sure it gets all over the chicken. And then I'm just going to keep adding more water and then wash it, because you don't want to not wash it too much, because if you don't do that, then you're going to have a lemony chicken, and you definitely don't want that. And after this, then you're just going to clean the chicken, clean whatever fat or feathers or whatever you see on the chicken. And so after you wash your chicken, you're going to want to put that in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. And we're going to make our dumplings now. So you're just going to put whatever amount of flour that you're going to use. This is all dependent on you. If you want to make a lot of dumplings, you add a lot more flour. If you don't, you add a little bit. So add whatever flour you want in the pot. Then you're going to add some salt. Just add a little bit of salt. You don't want to add too much. And then you're just going to keep adding water into the pot. And then just add this little by little until the flour comes together. And then after you keep adding and the flour comes together, then you're just going to knead the flour right now. So after it comes together, you're going to knead the flour and keep kneading it until you get a smooth mixture. And then after you knead it, you get the smooth mixture. Then you're going to want to take a damp paper towel, and then you're going to cover that up until you're ready to use it. And then set that aside and do it about 30 minutes before you're ready to add it to the pot. So it's been about 15 minutes since the pumpkin has been boiling. So we're going to check it to see if it's soft enough now. So if you look, the water definitely changed color a little bit and took on the color of the pumpkin. So now we're checking to see if it's soft. So I'm using a fork and it goes through extremely easily. So this is how I know that everything is soft enough perfectly. So now I'm gonna just use the back of the knife, and I'm just gonna mash all those pumpkins. So I'm just gonna mash everything because I'm just gonna try to facilitate the process so everything comes together much faster. And this is how you do it. So after you keep mashing, then you're just gonna want to keep looking around the pot, see if there's other pieces that you can mash. If you do like the pumpkin chunks, definitely add a little bit more pumpkin than I did. And then when you add a little bit more, you're gonna mash about 3/4 of the pumpkin and then leave the rest whole. And then the ones that you want to stay whole, definitely don't cut it up as small as I did. You can leave the pumpkin chunks a little bit bigger. So now that everything is mashed, I'm just stirring everything together, make sure everything is combined. And then we're just gonna add some seasonings in the pot up next. So now that everything is mashed, now I'm going to add the seasonings. I'm going to add some thyme, some scallions, some scotch bonnet pepper. And for the scotch bonnet pepper, we're also going to want to leave that whole. And for the scallions, we're just going to cut it up in about 3 pieces. So you're going to cut it in half twice. And then I'm going to add some minced garlic. If you have the regular big garlic chunks, definitely just mash that and add about 3 garlic chunks inside. And you're gonna add 1 scotch bonnet pepper. So later on, you're gonna see in the video that I'm gonna add another scotch bonnet pepper because this one isn't really that hot. So now I'm gonna add the pimento seeds, and it's just add about a cup of pimento seeds, and I'm gonna add more water as well. Um, so after that, now we're going to stir the pot, and we're going to add powdered seasonings. So we're going to add some black pepper. As you can see here, just add a couple sprinkles of black pepper, some adobo, add a couple of sprinkles of that, and some Larry seasoning salt, and you're gonna add a couple sprinkles of that. So next, after that, we're just gonna taste it. Remember, when I say when you're cooking, you have to just taste everything as you cook. So we're just sprinkling a little bit of everything. Then we're gonna stir it, the mixture, taste it, and see if it needs a little more of something. So I saw that it's under seasoned and it needed more adobo and Larry seasoning salt, so then I added that. So I added the necessary amount that I needed. Then after that, you're just going to cover the pot and just leave it on medium to continue to boil. So right now it's been about 20 to 25 minutes that it's been boiling. So now I'm just going to add the chicken inside the pot. So after I add the chicken inside the pot, then I'm just going to add a little bit of more pimento seeds. And right now I'm just checking, and I saw a big chunk of pumpkin, so I just mashed it. So I'm gonna add the carrots, and I'm gonna add a little bit more pimento seeds. And as you can see, I'm also going to burst the scotch bonnet pepper. Please do not do this. I do it because I like the heat, but for you, just don't do it. Leave it alone. And then we're going to cover the pot and leave it to boil, and heat is still on medium. So now it's been about 15 minutes since I put everything in the pot. So now I'm going to add the chocha to the pot. I'm going to add the corn, and I'm also going to add the dumplings. I'm going to make spinners and just regular dumplings. So right here, I'm just showing you how the flour looks, and as you can see, it's very smooth, and the process of resting it does it wonders. So now I'm just going to make spinners. So you're going to take a little piece of the flour, roll it in between your finger, and add it to the pot, and just continue to do that. And we're also going to make regular dumplings. So for the regular dumplings, take a little bit bigger piece than the spinners, and taking that piece is also depending on how big your dumpling is going to be. If you want a bigger dumpling, you're going to add a bigger piece. If you want a smaller dumpling, add a smaller piece. So I don't want mine too big, so I'm just taking a little piece and using my hands and my fingers to make the dumpling. You can't really see it that well, but this is how small my dumpling is, and this is how I'm making it. Hopefully I can make another video later on down the line just to show you how I make regular dumplings and how I do this process. And for that, I'll just make a separate video, slow everything down so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm adding a couple of that regular dumpling inside the pot and the spinners, and after I add that, I'm just going to cover back the pot and let it continue to boil, and the heat again is still on medium. So right now it's been about 10 minutes that passed, and I'm just gonna stir the pot and taste to see if the flavors are all there. So I tasted the pot, and basically I see that it needed just a little bit of sea salt, not too much. Just add a couple sprinkles of sea salt in the pot, mix it, taste it, and now we're just basically gonna add our grease cock soup mix. So they have different cock soup mixtures, they have pumpkin mixtures and everything, but we're just going to use a cock soup mix in here because that's just a soup mixture that I prefer, and some people like to use a blend of the cock soup and the pumpkin soup mix, but I'll leave a link in the description box to where I got mine from. And after, you're just going to add the cock soup mixture to a separate bowl, and you're going to add some of the soup inside the bowl, and you're going to mix it together to make sure it's thoroughly blended. Then after that, you're just going to add back that mixture to the pot, and we're just doing it this way because if you don't do it and you just add the soup mixture directly to the pot, then it's going to be a lot of uncooked chunks, and we just want all the flavors that we can get out of this soup mixture. And I am using only one packet of soup mix for this recipe, but if you have a bigger pot you can use two. Then cover the pot. So now it's been about 15 minutes, and we're just going to add the rest of the vegetables and up to the pot, and I'm gonna add the sweet potatoes and the regular Irish potatoes left. So I'm just gonna add that to the pot, and I'm adding it now just because the soup is almost finished. If you see, it is thickening up a little bit more, and I did add a scotch bonnet pepper, another one inside the pot as well, and I tasted it and the flavor is good, so we're good to go, and we're gonna leave it to so continue. Now it's been about 20 to 25 minutes since I've put the last bit of ingredients into the pot, and as you can see, the soup is finished. It's looking great. It's to the thickness that I like, and I tasted it, and all the flavors are just blended wonderfully together. It has the right amount of seasonings, and it's just looking great. And a key tip about Jamaican soup, the longer you let it sit, the thicker it's going to be. So the soup is definitely going to get thicker than how I have it here. So you don't want to make it any thicker than that or any thinner than that. And the amount of pumpkins in the soup definitely dictates on how thick the soup is going to be, FYI. But it's just looking wonderful, and the flavors are so great together. So please try it.